Hello and welcome to my Ever Messy Art Studio. My name is Keeks and today I have a special treat for you. So this is going to be a 3-book sketch tour, but I did not do these sketches. I actually bought these on auction and these were actually done by a PhD student. And so I thought it would be really cool to see what exactly he was doing. And I said student, he was actually a teacher. I'm sorry, he was a professor. So this will be really cool to kind of look through together and see what he was up to. These were done by Harold Hal James McWhinnie. And it did come with a little memorial for him, so I'm just going to read that so you kind of understand who he was. So be it resolved on February 11th, 2005, the faculty and staff of the College of Education at the University of Maryland honor the life and professional career and acknowledge the death of Harold James McWhinnie, a former professor in art education program in the Department Curriculum and Instruction. Dr. McWhinnie, known as Hal, passed away on April 7th, 2004 at the age of 74 in Fort Myers, Florida, where he lived with his wife Peggy, who survives him. Other survivors include his daughter Francesca Pinkston and her husband Jeffrey in Cape Coral, Florida. Hal earned his bachelor's degree from Pennsylvania State University and his MFA from Chicago Institute, and he earned his PhD from Stanford University and was respected worldwide as a ceramist and a number of solo shows that he participated in. He was actively involved in numerous art and art education professional associations, including the College Art Association, the National Art Education Association, and the Maryland Art Institution. So this gentleman was very well read, and these books actually came with a giant stack of papers just all about him, which is really cool. But on YouTube, I often love watching sketchbook tours, and one of the things that I always think is, oh my god, I can never be that good. So one of the reasons why I bought these is to remind me that sketchbooks are literally there just to be a sketchbook. I have already looked through all 3 of these, and what you're going to see are images that are very similar to each other in succession. And what I think is kind of cool about these is they're almost drawn in the same exact size. And I don't actually know what any of these images are unless a note is written by them. So that's also kind of the other interesting thing about these is for a PhD professor, his sketchbook is literally just that, just a sketchbook of random things. Now, if I see something that my eye catches, I'll point it out to you, but I literally have no idea what these are. They are all very abstract and all very interesting. So I do have 3 different sketchbooks from him. One was from November 17th of 1978 to, it looks like, possibly July 25th of 1979. So got that sketchbook. This sketchbook was from winter of 1998 to spring of 1999. And then the last one was actually the one that was within the year that he passed away. And it was started in March 4th of 2002. And I don't have an end date on this one. So let's just take a look and see what a PhD artist's sketchbook looks like, and hopefully that encourages you to keep going with your sketchbook and that you are an artist because you're creating something no matter what your art looks like. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first sketchbook, and if I see writing I will try to translate it for you. It is written in very sloppy cursive, which I do understand how to read cursive, but his handwriting was difficult for me to decipher. Oops, that's the back of the book. All right, so starting in here, it says that this is actually book 5. So there are other books that were probably sold on auction as well from this gentleman. And it says once again that this is from November of 1978 to July of 1979. And here we go. I'm going to flip through these kind of quickly. This says something about a totem. So I'm not sure if he was just continuously redrawing the same totem or not. But it's really interesting, all the cross-hatching that's in here. And you can tell that he drew these really fast, but some of them he took a lot of time on. Like this one and the different strokes, you can see where he meant for them to be darker and meant for them to be lighter. It's very interesting. This also says it's a totem. It says huge totem. This one says something about medium, but I'm not sure what it is. To me, this one kind of looks like somebody laying in one of those big giant donut machines that takes like an x-ray of you, but I don't know if that's what this is actually meant to be. Like, I don't know. Just because these are so abstract and interesting. Here's another drawing of the same thing again. And another version. This one says totem, but I'm not sure what the first word is above it. This one has two of these things next to each other, which is kind of interesting. You can see the really cool cross hatching in there. Now this one I thought was really interesting because I still have no idea what this is, but it almost looks like there's a figure up here. Like I can see a leg and like a woman's dress or something. So part of me like started looking at this as if it was like a circus with performers in it. I don't think that's what these actually are, but that's what came to my mind. Some of the pages are wanting to stick together. This one says something about a wall. So I think this is like a wall decoration of some sort. Another thing that's interesting is he didn't use both pages. He used just one page at a time, which is something I used to do when I was younger. I'm curious, in the comments, let me know what you guys think some of these drawings are. This one says another thing about a totem, but I'm not sure what that first word is. But whatever it is, he seemed to be fascinated by it. This one's another one where it almost looks like a person is doing the splits up here with their arms up. But once again, that's because at this point my mind was like circus, but I don't know that that's what this actually is. This one's also really interesting because you see the use of pen in here with pencil. Before now we didn't have a pencil. And there's also some sort of a smudgy marker in here as well, which is interesting. That one's pen and marker. And this one seems to be mostly marker. Marker. The cross hatches in here are really cool. I know that sounds weird, but I just really like them. Now this one kind of reminded me of people sitting in seats at an auditorium or something if you flip it this way. That's what I kind of see in that one, but once again, I don't know. Oops. Here's another version of that. And again, lots of repetitive drawings. Now this one says a little teapot, 6-inch length. So this apparently was some sort of a teapot he had. Not sure what that says, but it looks similar to some of the ones that we saw in the beginning. More pen drawings. Excuse me. This one says monument to, and then it has a name here that almost looks like it says maybe Jones Tim or something like that. That one looks like it almost says Jim Johns or something to that effect. Another version of it. It would have been really interesting to discuss with him what exactly was going through his mind when he was drawing these, like what kept him so focused on the same image over and over again. Because even though I don't know what these images are, it does look like, they're almost all the same size, and a lot of the shadows and the strokes are in the same places, which makes them really interesting because it would be really hard to do that. Here's another of these 3 figures again. This one's interesting because it's the only one in the book that's only made with crayon. So you can tell he used an orange crayon. Red pen. There's a few different types of mediums in here. Lots of different shading in that one. You can see how sometimes they change dramatically and other times you can just tell it's the same thing. The repetitive nature until you get it right, I guess. These are in pencil. Pencil again. Back to pen. This one seems to be those hanging instruments again. This one also appears to be hanging from something. This one kind of reminds me of something that has like strings between here, that maybe it was like a wrap of some sort. Like maybe a back wrap for back support. This one's really interesting how these are rounded. They're contoured. Those 3 figures again. Something different here, which I'm not sure what it is, but not much effort put into it. It was just a quick sketch. Another quick sketch of 3 of them. Could be those ornaments again. This one I can't quite read what it says. M-A-D-O-N-N-E-I, possibly, and then I'm not sure what that second word is. But he drew this figure quite a few times, so it looks like there's at least 2 figures in the drawing. Only 1 in that one. This one has a cane of some sort. Interesting, I can hear somebody singing in maybe the next apartment over. They're singing like opera. It's very pretty. This one says something with an M for something man. So I'm not sure what that says. This is a teapot as something. I've never really seen a teapot that looks like that, so it's kind of interesting. Maybe this could be the teapot itself in the holder. Possible. Lots of different compositions of the same thing. This one kind of reminds me of a rocket. Another quick drawing of it. Looks like from multiple angles. More images of this thing. And then here in the back, it kind of talks about some of them. Like I see some dates in here, but I can't really honestly read it. I see the word photo there. So something was done based on a photo. These were all in June, it looks like. Or maybe that's November 18th through December 1st, it looks like. So maybe a schedule of some sort. And then right here it says something about an art show. Some measurements. This one says here that it's a red ostrich. Some more ostrich pictures of just a quick study of the bird. This is interesting because if I'm reading this right, it says ostrich in bondage. But I'm not quite sure because it looks like B-O-N-D-A-G-E, but at the same time, I'm not sure because of how much cursive is in this. I'm not sure. So if you're able to read any of this, I would be really interested to know what you think it says. But yeah. So this was the very first sketchbook. And remember, this gentleman had a PhD in art. It's okay to have sketchbooks that you're drawing the same things over and over again. It's okay that nobody else knows what you're drawing if it doesn't make sense. Just fill your sketchbook. Okay? So that was the first one. The second sketchbook is actually my favorite of all the sketchbooks. So in this one, this is a sketchbook called Artists Speak, and in it has different prompts, and then he drew pictures to go with the prompts, and some of them are amazing. So this one says winter 1998 to spring of 1998, and then it has his name up here. And this sketchbook feels like it's just regular paper. So it's an introduction to the sketchbook. And then here, it'll have like a quote. And then down here will be his drawings. I'm not going to read all the quotes unless he says something down here I can understand, because he does have notes in here as well. But one of the things I don't want to do is I don't want to fully read this book to you because it would be like reading a copyrighted thing. This looks like a flower to me. Make sure that I'm fully in it here. And it's interesting, whatever these were, they look like they were quick sketches, but he also took the time to put a lot of detail in here, and most of these are in pencil. So even these written ones, you know, don't think of them as too precious to use. And you can draw whatever you want in them. Even if it's just weird scribbles. And I'm not saying these are weird, please don't take it like that. But I'm just saying, even if you think it's something weird that nobody's going to understand later, somebody might enjoy it later on. Because I found these fascinating. And then a couple of them, whenever he wrote notes next to him, then sometimes I'd be like, oh my God, that is what that thing is. This one's interesting. It says the God Queen, but I don't know what this is. More interesting random scribbles. These here almost look like people in a way to me. Like to me, this person would be sitting on their knees with their arms down. Maybe this could be like a side profile of somebody. Not for sure, but that's what it looks like to me. Here we get to start seeing more writing. Once again, I do read cursive, but this cursive is very hard for me to read. I can see that this does say something about the 15th of 1998. And this one says 365 drawing. He also did them out of order because this one's on the 14th and this one was on the 15th. So in your sketchbooks, it's okay if you skip around. Some more interesting drawings in color. These are scribbles again with a pen, it looks like. Some more color ones, which this one has both highlighter and maybe possibly colored pencil or crayon. I'm going to say this looks more like colored pencil to me. More with highlighters and colored pencils. This one is actually my favorite image in this book because at first I had no idea what this was. And then it says womb. And I was like, womb? What do you mean womb? This is a baby. Look, you can see the jawline of the baby, the head, the body. This is a fetus. So interesting. But when that finally popped out to me, I was like, oh my goodness, these are in crayon. I can feel the waxiness of the crayon. I can also smell the crayon. Very whimsical. Lots of movement in these. Like, even though I'm not sure what they are, like, I can just feel the movement staring at them. Very interesting. More crayons. Very abstract colors too. That says March 29th of 98. This one kind of reminds me of a pear. Maybe some leaves. March 29th, 1998. March 29th, 1998. More on the 29th. This kind of looks like a plant of some sort to me. Could have been things around his desk, maybe. This looks like a scale of some sort. Possibly a person here. Lots of these done on January 29th. So, you know, for people that think you shouldn't use your sketchbook but once a day, you could use it multiple times a day. I do that a lot too. These were done on 3/30 of 98. This one says bird in flight. So to him, this was a bird in flight. And then this one says bird at rest 1. So he did number things in here, like he'll say 1, part 2, those kind of stuff. This is another one that he said is a bird. Bird in the egg. You can see the bird in there. This one just says egg. Those are done in blue pen. Not everything's dated. Some of it is, some of it isn't. This one says Potters of the something. and it's number 1. This one says something about a bottle. Maybe parts of the mind. Can't really read those. Whatever this object is, it's very interesting. He liked it so much he signed it. This one kind of reminds me of a horse in a weird way. And these weird undulating drawings, you can feel so much motion in them. They're like, can't you really just like visualize whatever this is like moving? More crayon. That almost kind of looks like a belly button on whatever this is. This one has measurements on it. Very geometrical. Some more geometrical ones and some more undulating ones. This one says 3/1 of 99, so there's quite a gap in there. Lots of 3/1 of 99s. Ooh, I kind of like how that looks right there. That's cool. Some more writing. I can't tell what it says though. It's interesting how some of these are with the crayons and then some of them are just black and white with the pen. Lots of focusing on the same elements again. Oh, I like the color palette in this one. It's very bright and pretty. More notes. May 23rd, 1999. These look like creatures of some sort. All of them have an eyeball on them. More of them. These look like flowers to me of some sort, maybe coming out of like a seed. More flowers. That I can actually see says flowers. But I also see like a cross with an eyeball in the middle of it. So it's entirely possible that I could be misreading that. Because up here it looks like it says flows. And that's August 2nd of 1999. Now these look like flowers. August 9th, 1999. More crayon. That's an interesting shape. It says it's a vase for something. More vases, possibly. This one definitely looks like a vase. This one kind of looks like a mushroom. Maybe a heart or a volcano. What I really admire about these sketchbooks is how he just literally put whatever was in his mind on the paper. Like, I imagine by just letting yourself do that and be free, you would discover so many different things you like. Like, I see certain markings that I enjoy in there. And then the rest of it's not filled out. Never finished this one. In the back of it, there are some more notes again. And I've noticed that there's a lot of numberings in these books where he will go back and say what they are. It's very interesting. This one seems to be like it's graded almost. More calendar notes. And then this last one is possibly the oddest of them all. Or really the most interesting because it's completely different. So in one of the papers that I read about this artist, and remember he's a PhD, is that he wanted to try to be one of the first people that mixed like computer art with traditional art. So in this one, you'll see a lot of pictures of things, and they're, you know, just normal photo quality. And then what he'll do is he'll paste them down and then draw over them. So it's almost like the entire book is collage. And he'll have made these interesting pictures online and then bring it to his book to finish out whatever his thought was with it. So definitely a really interesting way of going there. And I know plenty of people who like to mix their traditional art with computers, so that's really interesting. And also to see what his mind was thinking at the time. And this one was made the year he passed away as well. So this looks like a picture of a flower of some sort. That first version was black and white, and this one's in color, but with the saturation up really high, or the contrast up really high. Some more flowers. Just a sketch. Oops, got a couple pages that don't want to, there we go. Another sketch. Another sketch. This has some sort of flowers in it. More flowers. Not sure what that one is. I hope this is really inspiring to people, especially those who think they can't draw, because you can literally, oh, there's a hair there, that's weird. You can literally do whatever you want in your sketchbook. It's yours, and it doesn't have to make sense to other people. You know, it doesn't have to mean anything either. You can just do it. Looks like there's a poppy of some sort in there. More flowers. And think of all that he must have learned in just doing these little scribbles on paper. It's certainly an interesting idea. That one says March 14th, 2002. So these were the months up until he passed away. And he never stopped drawing. That's interesting, whatever that's supposed to be. Did you ever, when you were a kid, get on? Here's what I would do. is I would go on the paint program on the computer and then mix up all the colors, and then like there was a cutting tool where you could cut it and scooch it over, and would just spend hours doing that, and it was so relaxing until it just turned into a mess of different shapes and colors. And then I would turn up the saturation, I would turn on the opposite colors. It was so fun, like to invert it and stuff. This seems to be a quote of some sort. More quotes. He's got the page numbers listed of wherever he got those quotes from. These were all done on the 14th. I just realized we're on the same day. This one was on the 15th. A lot of these are just images of flowers. Just different visuals of it. Here's another quote. It says something about composers. I have a mind, something something surgeon helped me see. Not sure. That's hard to read. And then the rest of these seem, or a couple of these seem to be pre-made ones. Here's another drawing from March 14th, so he skipped some pages and went back to the 14th again. Here's the 15th. More undulating shapes. Look at how interesting those lines are. How they almost make things contour. No date on that one. March 18th. 19th. That one's really interesting. That was the 20th. I like whatever that is. I don't know what that's supposed to be. I don't know if it's a flower or what, but I just like the shape of it. It might be a flower. More scribbly version of it. Bunch of different studies of the same thing. This one really looks like a flower to me. So is that one. Yeah, and that's the end of it. So once again, these are not my journals. They are journals I purchased from an auction, and they were originally done by a PhD, Dr. Harold Hal James McWhinnie. So if you have ever heard of him before, I would love to hear more about him. But otherwise, like I said, I hope this just encourages you to let yourself be free and do as many drawings as you want to do, whether it's in the same day or not, and draw whatever you want to. It doesn't have to look like anything. It should be enjoyable and to be enjoyed by others. So if you're a subscriber, thank you so much for sticking along with me. If you're new here, welcome. And if you would please like, share, and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. But I'll see you next time. Bye.